Good morning. Coming up on 7 minutes past 8, BBC Radio Kent Breakfast with John and Claire. Thanks for joining us this morning. Now, it was 10 years ago when Eastern European immigrants first came to Kent in large numbers after several countries joined the EU. We also, in the last hour, spoke to Chris Hoare, UKIP councillor at Kent County Council. He was a little more cautious in his welcome.
This mainly affects the construction industry. I'm sure it affects other sectors too. What it really is that basically migrant labour is brought over from Eastern Europe and they're employed by an agency. So effectively, they come outside of British employment legislation. Now, this is unfair to British workers. We're not happy with this at UKIP. We think it should be a level playing field for everyone. They pay their tax and national insurance back to their home country. So at every level, this is unfair. It's unfair on our own workers who are effectively cut out of jobs in the construction industry. It's unfair on the tax man because he doesn't get tax revenue, and it's unfair on Eastern European labour because they're paid much less.
Well, listening to that is Kent builder Stephen Lucas. I gather, Stephen, you know how this loophole works, and it's been operating for some time. Just explain in very simple terms what happens with this loophole that's there.
Well, basically what we do is we employ a foreign agency. They send over the workers to us. We send the agency money abroad. They deduct the tax on national insurance in their home country. Whatever they do is over there, nothing to do with us. They supply us the labour.
So they're paid effectively in Bulgaria or Romania, in the cases of what we have now, at their sort of wages, but they're sent over here to work. That's the deal. And therefore the contractor is paying below minimum wage. That's what you're saying?
Yes, yeah. Legal. It's all legal and above board, yes.
Yeah. You could argue, could you not, that the British contractor has a certain amount of responsibility here, and it may be legal, but is it morally right to bring in that sort of cheap labour? I think you were talking about 30 quid a day for a skilled construction worker.
Yes, I mean...
Is that morally right?
Well, look, if the people are prepared to work for £30 a day, where normally English people get £120 a day, if they're prepared to work for that, then why should we say
But is
no?
it morally right to do that? Means that British people are not getting the jobs they should have, and you're exploiting foreign workers, aren't you?
Well, we are exploiting foreign workers, and obviously my father is from Eastern Europe, but as far as I'm concerned, it is morally wrong. But we are being encouraged by the councils and by developers, and I'm a project manager by trade, to use this loophole, and if we get told to use a loophole, we use it. And
now, I suppose that if the other concern about migrants is, them claiming benefits or getting benefits from the state. Surely if they're employed in Bulgaria or Romania, they won't be entitled to British benefits, will they?
Yes, they would do. What they do is they get paid from Romania or Bulgaria, and they have the money sent over there. Then they declare about £50 a week of earnings, like cleaning cars.
So they're saying they're earning an extra £50 in Britain?
Yes.
Which they then have to pay tax on?
Which they have to pay tax on. That entitles them to housing benefit, tax credits, working tax credits, all the other things. They don't have to actually sign on. They just get all the benefit system in
Because
place.
they're paying tax in Britain? On that small amount of money?
On that small amount, because we're actually using the benefit system to fund our house building project. We've got to build 146,000 houses in Kent. We need help from Europe. We need them to come over. And if they're prepared to work for £30, if the benefit system are quite happy to help supplement their income, we're happy.
Could you close the loophole quite easily, do you think?
You can close the loophole within a day, because under European law, under what we call Section 106, which is planning legislation, you can ask for local labour, 20% local labour, which is in this country, or one apprentice per site. By doing that, that closes the loophole completely there and then, because then you can't give the contract abroad.
So at that stage, the Bulgarians and Romanians who came over here to work in the construction industry would have to be paid at least the minimum wage?
Yes,
right.
Because if the agency has to employ anyone from the UK or any apprentice, then they have to have a company by law in England.
If it's that easy, why don't the government just do it?
Well, because it's like Paul Carter, head of KCC. He is from a developing background. Local councillors come from developers' background. Now, I understand their argument, and I understand the argument of Eric Pickles and Greg Clark, that say, look, we do need cheap labour to build our houses. We have got a lot of houses to build, and we can't build them on normal wages if we pay people.
Are you really suggesting that, in a way, governments, councils are colluding with this loophole and saying, actually, it's good for us. We need this 30 quid a day carpenter to come in and help us build houses?
Of course we do. We do need them. We need a lot of Eastern European labour.
At 30 quid a day,
At 30 quid a day.
Yeah.
We have to make it commercially viable for developers. And it's not commercially viable for developers if you have to pay English people £100 a day. And on the positive side, for a lot of individual people, it makes the house prices actually cheaper.
Do you agree that there is the difference between the agricultural sector and your construction sector?
Of course, there's a massive difference. You can't expect a young man or a young woman to make a life and buy a house and a car and all that, picking fruit or washing cars and things. But construction work pays very well because you get paid by the quantity of work.
Not if you're from Bulgaria, apparently. It's 30 quid a day.
£30 may not sound a lot here, but £30 in Romania and Bulgaria is a lot of money.
Stephen, thanks for coming in. Good to talk to you. Stephen Lucas, who's a Kent builder, who says there is this loophole. It is being exploited by firms in Bulgaria and Romania, and it could be closed like that.
Now, Inside Out is back with Natalie Graham.
10 years on, what has Polish immigration done for Kent and Sussex?
They're entitled to work for less than the minimum wage, normally about £2.30 to £3 an hour. It works quite well for us. We basically use the benefit system to help build our houses.
I'm Natalie Graham with untold stories closer to home. From all around the southeast, this is Inside Out. Last week, Britain opened its doors to Bulgarian and Romanian immigrants to live and work here. But 10 years ago, we opened our borders to Poland and other Eastern European countries. So what impact has that immigration actually had on the people of Kent and Sussex?
Poland joined the European Union, and for the first time, Poles were able to come here as full EU citizens with the same rights to live, to work, and to claim benefits if necessary.
Low wages may boost profits and help the economy, but what's the real impact on workers? One of the industries in the southeast where low wages paid to Eastern Europeans has had a massive impact is construction. Steve Lucas is a site manager who's very concerned that young British people aren't getting jobs.
Basically all the sites use Eastern European workers, and the main is just cost, simple thing as cost.
Why are they cheaper?
Well, because they come under the first year to 2 years, they come under a tax loophole and a loophole in which they're entitled to work for less than the minimum wage. And we use a benefit system to obviously supplement their income, and they get housing benefits and medical care. And it works quite well for us. We basically use the benefit system to help build our houses.
Does that strike you as morally wrong, or do you think it's morally okay?
It's morally wrong, but it's legal. They're paid far less than the British workers. I mean, they're normally about £2.30 to £3 an hour to work on a construction site, where the English people will get £7-8 an hour.
Chris Hoare is a UKIP councillor representing Tunbridge Wells East.
They're using the tax credit system to supplement their wages. National insurance and tax rates are much lower in Eastern Europe, and they're also paying back to their home countries. Now, the Inland Revenue are not happy with this situation. They describe it as aggressive tax avoidance, and it's very important to understand this.
A spokesman for the HMRC, the government's tax office, denied there's a legal way to pay less than the minimum wage to workers in Britain. However, he confirmed it is aware of a loophole where employers can avoid paying employers' national insurance for workers by using an overseas agency. It's planning to close the loophole in April. 20-year-old Jordan Brewer considers himself a victim of a construction industry that prefers to employ cheap foreign labour. Despite studying carpentry at college for 3 years, he's been unable to get a job on any local site. Some construction companies are already attempting to address the problem of young people losing out to foreign workers. On this site in Tunbridge Wells, the developers have committed to ensuring that 20% of their workers are local. That meant Sonny Keane was able to get a job as an apprentice, but not without a struggle.
How easy was it for you to get an apprenticeship?
Extremely hard. It took me maybe about 50 applications from September last year.
And was that surprising to you?
No, it's just kind of like a known fact.
10 years of immigration from Poland and other Eastern European countries has meant local councils having to meet their needs with increased services. Kent County Council commissioned a special report into the impact of that demand.
Well, the experience has been, I think, mixed. We've struggled to keep up with the pace of investment in the schools to expand schools. I know the health service has been creaking. There is an element of benefit tourism as well from those new European countries coming into this country. But generally, the workforce has contributed towards the Kent economy and the UK economy. So there are mixed blessings of pressures on public services and contribution towards the economy, provided, of course, we get the strivers and not the spongers.
There seem to be particular concerns in the construction industry where Eastern Europeans are able to come over and undercut local workers. How much of a concern is that?
There is a large amount of that going on where Eastern European workers are significantly undercutting the standard rate of pay for traditional trades in the construction industry. They come over here, live in very cheap accommodation for 6 months at a time and sort of distance commute from their home in Eastern Europe.
How much of a problem is that and what can you do about it?
Well, that's a good question. What can you do about it?
A decade of mass immigration from Poland and other Eastern European countries has had a profound effect on the southeast. With new migrants from Bulgaria and Romania now expected to come to Britain, that experience could change again.
They're using the tax credit system to supplement their wages. National insurance and tax rates are much lower in Eastern Europe, and they're also paying back to their home countries. Now, the Inland Revenue are not happy with this situation. They describe it as aggressive tax avoidance, and it's very important to understand this.